What up, what up, what up? YouTube, I almost said TikTok, drip, drop, flip, flop. Shout out to them haters. What up, YouTube? I'm RicoKnows. I'm here to talk to you guys about the NFL draft. Took a couple days off, had to do the UFC thing. Shout out to all the MVPs on Patreon. You guys know the deal. I'm a capper. I pick fights. I pick college football games, and I'm the best in the world at it. I'm not bragging. I don't mean to brag. I don't mean to boast, but I'm like hot butter on breakfast toast. Check it out, though. We're going to talk about the NFL draft. We've been watching these players for their entire careers. I've known these kids since they were in high school. Some of these guys I know on Twitter. We talk, and you guys don't, if you didn't know, I'm on Twitter every day talking to coaches, getting player scholarships, helping to fill out rosters for college coaches. I'm doing my best, doing my part within the community, and now it comes where I let the players go. And if you don't know what that means, I don't watch NFL games. I don't cap for them. I don't do any analysis on NFL games. I stop right when they get drafted. That's it. I let them go. Like parents letting their kids go to college and stop trying to raise them. Yeah, that's me, dude. I really cut it off. I don't watch them anymore. I hope the NFL coaches do well with them. I hope they make the right decisions and they take care of their careers, and sometimes they don't use them the right way or injuries occur. I don't keep track of all that. I just keep studying the college football teams, and that's how my life is, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So it'll be like 2 years from now, somebody will have to write me and be like, Rico, you were so right on so-and-so. And I feel pretty good about it. There's times I'm not right on people. There's times I get it wrong. And it's okay. I'm not mad. But we're going to get these tight ends right. I can tell you that right now. We're going to talk about some tight ends. So you guys know the deal. Some people are excited about this episode. I'm going to go back 2 years. 2 years when we talk about the tight ends that I talked about in my show. I told you my favorite tight end in the NFL draft 2 years ago was Tucker Kraft. I was analyzing tight ends, and I picked an FCS tight end as the best tight end in the draft. I was attacked. I was killed. I looked terrible, by the way, when Luke Musgrave got drafted before him on the same team, and then they drafted Tucker Kraft in the 4th round. But I remember telling people in my post-draft analysis, I was like, hey, guys, if you just drafted a tight end in the 2nd round, that means you were evaluating all the tight ends in the draft, all of them. So you had a whole big board, and you really looked into these tight ends because you know you were going to add one. And you ranked Tucker Kraft probably number 2 on your board. Probably number 2 on your board. So you get to the 4th round, you start looking around, and you go, man, this is the best player left in the draft. Not the best tight end, not the second best tight end. No. The best player available. And that's how you draft 2 tight ends within 2 rounds. And that's exactly what happened. And now Tucker Kraft, well, proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the pudding. I'll get to your guys' comments, concerns, and questions. But, hey, it takes a lot of nerve to go out there and put an FCS player number 1. This is the year I was swinging for the fences, bro. I was fighting people. Look at this wide receiver list. Tank Dell is here, bro. Israel Abanikanda is here. Sometimes you swing and you miss. Jake Hainer, the cheater, is here. The roid freak. So last year, tight ends, don't overthink it. We go Brock Bowers. And you see the list. Now, in my top 10, Jack Westover didn't even get drafted. My favorite tight ends, some of them don't get drafted. I don't care. I don't care. But what you'll notice about last year's draft is I repeated some names of my favorite players. I repeated some names, or I had to dig really deep for some names when we go to the deep hidden gems. Like Phil Jerkovic here was the starting quarterback at Pitt, and I made him one of my hidden gem tight ends because he was doing a position change. Or Joey Gatewood used to be a 4-star quarterback coming out of high school, went to Auburn, couldn't get on the field, went to Kentucky, couldn't get on the field, went to UCF, couldn't get on the field, went to Louisville, played tight end, and finally got on the field. So, don't waste your whole college career trying to pretend you're something you're not, like a dual threat quarterback. But anyways, so you win some, you lose some. But this year, the NFL draft at tight end is so deep. And when I say deep, I mean deep. I'm talking about in your guts deep, okay? It is so deep that I didn't repeat a single name on the list. I have enough people, and I don't have to dig too far. Everybody is pretty much at the FBS level. I went out there and just for nostalgic reasons, I grabbed an FCS tight end, and I'll talk about Carter Runyon towards the end of the show. But this is what we got, okay? So it's a deep tight end class, and there's some phenomenal talents in this class. Now, if you go to ESPN, they're going to show you the best available, excuse me for a second here, they're going to show you the best available tight ends in the draft. And they have them here in their rank order. Whoever ranked them, I don't know, right? They have them all here, and they have 19 tight ends. That's what they anticipate getting drafted. 19 tight ends. Sounds like a lot if you go and you look at last year when there was only 12. Last year's tight end group, only 12. They didn't believe in a lot of the tight ends. But if you scroll back a little bit, 18, there's years where they get 20. Multiple years of over 20. You just have to scroll back. There's 20 right there, 2010. There's 20 right there, 2009. Back-to-back years. And if you go even further back, you'll see 24, 2002. Now, I don't like to go beyond 25 years, so I'm not too concerned about the 90s. Remember, early 90s, there was more than 7 rounds in the draft. So, yeah, you were getting some real numbers down here once you got to 12 rounds, okay? I don't want to get into all that. But it's a pretty good number of tight ends on the ESPN books for sure. I'm going to tell you guys this. There will be tight ends drafted not on this list. There has to be. Like, there just has to be. And if you look at the list, you see this boy Nesbit down here? Bryson Nesbit? He's in my top 10. He's in my top 10. But I understand. I understand certain people won't get drafted. Now, when you go to the combine, and we're going to talk about combine results in a little bit, but when you go to the combine, who got invites to the combine? How many people got invited? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 at Gadsden. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So ESPN just does the easiest thing, right? 21 guys got invited to the combine, and they just went ahead and picked 19 of them and said, these are the top tight ends in the draft. Nobody else, which is, it is what it is, okay? They're lazy. ESPN's lazy. Don't think they know all the players. They don't. They pretend to know them all. They go out and try to make graphics for them and scramble. Promise you right now, last year I was laughing my ass off when they didn't have anything on Micah Abraham when he got drafted. They didn't have anything. He wasn't on top available players or nothing. And I talked about it after the second day of the draft when they were asking me, Rico, who's the best players available? And I was like, well, Micah Abraham's one of them. For sure. He's my third favorite corner. Oh, by the way, my fourth favorite corner is Beanie Bishop, and they're not going to draft his ass, and he's going to become a starter for the Steelers and be amazing. These are my favorite dudes. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. So it is what it is. Oh, but Rico, you missed. You didn't like Cooper DeJean. Bro, where did you have Cooper DeJean on your top 10? Just let me know. Where'd you have him? 5? I know you had him 5, 4 at best. So we're off by 2 or 3 spots. Get your life together, bro. You want to point out something I missed? Get your life together. Promise you. My life is great. All right. So we're going to talk about all these guys individually. You know what? I'll just do a quick rundown, and I'll talk about each guy, and we'll go from there. And then you guys, obviously, if you have questions, comments, concerns, put it in the chat. I will get to it. Okay? Put it in the chat. I will get to it. Okay? Promise. All right, first thing I'm going to talk about, Elijah Arroyo. Playing at Miami, he's a receiving tight end. You're going to hear a phrase, and they're going to say it on TV a lot, and it's called an inline tight end. If they say he's an inline tight end, all that means is they're capable of blocking. They're capable of playing tight end with their hand in the dirt, right? When we talk about receivers, X, Y, and Z wide receivers. Well, X is your number 1 wide receiver, think Megatron, right? The guy that's on the line of scrimmage. X, Y, and then Z. Z is the wide receiver off the line of scrimmage, and then Y is your slot receiver. When you're playing with a tight end, typically he can take the spot of the slot receiver. He will line up in the Y position if he's going out for passes. Now, if you're running a pro set and you have 2 tight ends on the field, that means you have 2 receiving tight ends, or short yardage situations, you'll bring in 2 inline tight ends to have a double tight set and a double tight look and put everybody in the box and blow them out, and then the defense doesn't know where you're running with the ball. A lot of nuances out there. All I need to tell you is Elijah Arroyo is a Y tight end. He's a receiving tight end. He is not a blocker by any means. He's extremely athletic. And something about Elijah Arroyo that people don't understand. And I'm going to talk about this because it took me what? It took me 2 days, 3 days before we started this. So for 3 days, I've been looking at tight ends. Now, don't think it was just for 3 days. I've been looking at tight ends, all these guys, their whole career. But for 3 days, I had to sit down and think about my top 10 and how I wanted to do this. And when I thought about it, and I started racking, stacking the guys, and I go back and watch some tape on them, one thing that's very noticeable to me is Elijah Arroyo is like instantly open. And it's different, right? When you think of a tight end, they're like lumbering, these bigger guys who take a while to get started and get going. And that could be a problem in the NFL because if you don't have any separation from the jump, you're just working harder to get open. This man, Elijah Arroyo, is too fast for linebackers to cover him, and then he's too big for safeties to cover him. He's just open. Like, he's instantly open. He'll get on top of a DB, and you might line up. You might be that nickel corner, right? Nickel corners typically line up on the guy in the slot. So you have the nickelback. Shout out to Nickelback, a terrible band. But you have the nickel corner line up on that slot, or a linebacker, and it's just one of these situations where the nickel looks up, he goes, oh, I got a tight end, I'm good. I'm faster than the tight end, and you're not. Now, their 40 times at the combine were very slow. Everybody's 40 time was 4.7 or slower for the most part. I think Terrance Ferguson had the fastest 40 at the combine. But game speed, just the leverage and understanding how to beat opponents and beat defenders, Elijah Arroyo does it well. He's a touchdown waiting to happen. I like him. He's nice. Not that strong. Not a great blocker. So very situational. Gavin Bartholomew, if you saw on the chart, he's my number one favorite tight end on the list here. When you talk about, let me pull up the chart here. Gavin Bartholomew's here. You know what? I'm just going to go down every guy, and I'll talk about it where they're at on the list. So let me just bring that back just a little bit. There's Elijah Arroyo down here at number 8 for me on tight ends. I think he's pretty good. I think he's a very athletic guy. Obviously, there's a ton of potential there. I hope whoever drafts him utilizes him in the passing game. Now, let's talk about Gavin Bartholomew, my favorite tight end in the draft. So why is he my favorite tight end in the draft, and I never talked to you guys about it? A lot of it has to do with being pit tough and knowing that people at Pittsburgh are about that life. Now, they got a chip on their shoulder, and if you think about it and you start analyzing Pitt NFL players from Pitt, we're talking about the Aaron Darnolds, I'm going to miss so many, but Fitzgerald. There's just so many receivers in the early 90s that were great. Bryant, stuff like this. But there's more just tough-ass dudes. And they have a chip on their shoulder because they didn't go to Penn State. I'm serious. Because they weren't recruited by Penn State. So they just come across as like these ass kickers, right? And how do you get that edge? Well, it's at practice. It's in the off season. It's in the culture of the program. And they keep carrying it over. And they're just Pitt tough, right? And one of those guys that's been a leader at Pitt for the last 2 or 3 years, a team captain, the guy is Gavin Bartholomew. He's just a tough-ass dude. And I think he's a quality player to bring into your locker room. And I love those quality guys that you know are the bee's knees. Like those guys, they always go, well, he's a Stanford man. Well, he's a Clemson player. That's the type of shit I get with Gavin Bartholomew. He's just a stud, man. I like what he does. I really do. Watching his tape, I'm going to be rooting for him. I don't mean to stutter and repeat myself. You guys know I've never done that in my life. I'm just telling you that when I watch him on tape, I look at him and I go, that guy belongs on a team. That guy's the real deal. So I like Gavin Bartholomew a lot. Jake Briningstool. People rip Clemson like they don't have NFL players. Their team is littered with them. Littered with them. And Jake Briningstool is one of those guys. He's in my top 10 for sure. I think he's got NFL potential all day. I have him right behind Gunnar Helm. He's number 5. And what's more impressive, or maybe something that's kind of never brought up, is Jake is keeping some really good players on the bench. There's some other really good tight ends behind him. There's some other really good players who just look at him and just, man, he's better than you. And I feel that way about Jake. I like that kid. So that's another one in my top 10 that I believe in. Jalin Conyers did not make my list anywhere, and I think he's a good player. So I think he's a great natural catcher. He does things really well. He moves in fluid motion. Now, he just transferred to Texas Tech for his final season of college football, and he's fine. He's a weapon. But in this year of tight ends, there's just so many of them that what do you do with it, right? Now, Jalin Conyers, he had a good combine. I'll tell you who else had a good combine. Dippre had a good combine, and Ferguson, right? Hopefully Joshua Simon, if you think so. But Conyers looked good running the drills and catching passes. He did. He's a natural pass catcher. So I think he made some money at the combine. I hope his interviews went well. He's not in my top 10. He's not in my top 5. He's not a hidden gem. He's just going to get drafted somewhere. CJ Dippre. I don't understand it, man. I've talked about this for, 2 years now? 3 years? I'm not going to change my tone. CJ Dippre was the second best tight end at Maryland when he hit the transfer portal. The second best tight end at Maryland when he hit the transfer portal. And all these teams started offering him. Ohio State, Alabama. He wasn't better than Corey Dykes. They're the same year. He was not better than Corey Dykes. And Corey's currently fighting for playing time at Cal right now because Jack Hendrys is there, and that's a whole nother conversation. Very good tight ends. But C.J. Dippre wasn't elite to me. Then you go to Alabama. There's a coaching change. They bring in some tight ends, and you're still kind of contributing, and you look good, and he tests really well. I'm not sold on C.J. Dippre, and someone's going to draft him because he has the traits you're looking for. Cool, man. He's not on my list. And anyway, he's not on my radar. Mitchell Evans, very much on my list. I like Mitchell Evans. He's a classic Notre Dame tight end. If you didn't know, I've done a video about who is tight end you, and it's actually Notre Dame, and then it's Iowa, and there's a whole metric involved in that, draft positions, whatever. So Mitchell Evans, I have him here at 4 on my favorites list. I do understand he's in the top 10 for most people, but there's something about Mitchell Evans on tape that bugs me. And I talked about it at the beginning of the show, and it's when you see a tight end and their releases aren't clean, they're kind of lumbering, you just say to yourself, man, he's working way too hard for what he's doing, and it's going to get harder in the NFL. What I'm saying is he's limited as an athlete, and he doesn't instantly get open. Like, he just doesn't. They can scheme him open. Oh, man, they can scheme him open. They can do a number of things for him to get open. I want to use a term. Whenever we would, as an offensive coordinator, right, whenever I would call plays, we used to run something called a waggle. A waggle. All it is you're going to block down. You're going to do your down block. We're going to fake play action to that side or to the other side. The whole defense is going to go one way. And then the quarterback's going to do a reverse pivot, fake the handoff, play action, and roll out to the opposite side. A lot of nonsense. You guys aren't understand what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. Tight end down blocks, and then he goes to the flats. And nowadays, I don't think they call it a waggle anymore. I don't think that's the terminology people are using. But you call him, if you're just in layman terms, he just leaks out the backfield. He leaks out. So you'll be blocking. It's very common in flag football when the tackles are eligible, if they're blocking or whatever, and then they'll just leak out to the flats. That is the way Mitchell Evans gets passes. And maybe it's Riley Leonard couldn't throw, right? I'm not a big Riley Leonard guy. He's not on my top 10 list. Love Riley Leonard as an athlete, basketball player, all kinds of stuff. But as far as throwing, it's tough. And I think Mitchell Evans just was never open and never wowed me with his athleticism to get open, right? Just didn't. And so when I watch him, I know he's a good football player. He's probably a really good locker room guy. But athletically, he's so limited that I just look at him and I'm just like, can't get down with it, bro. True story. All right. Harold Fannin Jr. What up, MVPs? I've been talking about Harold Fannin Jr. for 2 years. 2 years. And I've been telling the world he's the best tight end I ever seen, right? I always say that. Now, he's definitely dominant in the MAC. But I have to be realistic, and when I do my top 10, I'm putting him here at 6. I have a lot of respect for him, and I want you to understand what that means. That means when I'm doing my top 10s, I look at the group of 5 players, and I put him at 6. There's Seth Hennigan right there. Cam Scattaboo. But it's really about when you're looking at the guys that I have at 6, guys like Jalen Royals, Scadaboo, a former FCS player, right? And I had a guy write to me in the DMs or in a comment, and he got really upset with me because I said, I don't put a group of 5 player this high. I don't know what I'm doing. And it was Ashton Genty. And I just don't think these guys understand. Like, the math just says it, right? No group of 5 players are getting drafted in the top 100. They just aren't. It's the reality of the situation. There's 8 of them in the top 100. They used to be 22. Now there's 8. That's last year. You can do all the math. Go back and look it up. I study this stuff, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is Harold Fannin's nice. I like him a lot. There's a potential that he drops out of the top 100. He does everything good. He blocks well. He runs well. Catches well. I think he's a good player. Big fish in a small pond, and I hope it translates. One guy that will translate is Terrance Ferguson. Complete stud. Incredibly fast. My dog's barking. I don't like that. I'm home alone. I do have my weapon with me. Just want to make sure we're good. Excuse me. We're good. Yeah, we don't get down with that. Apologize. Let's get back to the show. Just got to make sure. All right. Nonetheless, where was I? Terrance Ferguson, good player. Did well at the Combine. I think he made some money at the Combine. Did well this year at Oregon. Looks like a complete player and I think he has the potential to grow into one of those really elite tight ends that you see, the Kittles of the world, right? Is it Kittle? The kid for the 49ers? Yeah, stuff like that. So I like Terrance Ferguson. He's just not that mean, but he's clean, man. He's clean and he's good. Good stuff. Thomas Fidone, Nebraska, big guy, 6'6", 260 probably. There's two things that will sabotage or bring a player's career to an end. Like, if anybody ever asks, like, how do you lose your draft stock? You think you're going to get drafted. What can go wrong to where you don't get drafted? Well, I'm going to tell you 2 things: character concerns and health concerns. I actually talked to the New England Patriots lead scout in person, and I talked to him at the Next Gen camp I was at last year. We had a conversation. I walked over to him and I said, hey, man, when coaches talk to you about the prospects, are they honest with you in their assessment of who the player is and what he is? Do they tell you the truth? Like, or do they go in there and they tell, oh, he's amazing, draft him, he's great, because they want to get a guy drafted? Or do they tell you, oh, no, that guy's a shitbag, he doesn't work hard? And so he gave me the answer, and he said coaches are always honest because they want credibility and they want the NFL teams to believe them, and they want to build that rapport. So the college coaches will always be honest with you and tell you the dirty down truth about a player. And then I said, well, what's the impact on a draft pick like that? And he said, to be honest, it's the 3rd largest impact. People would think it's number 1, like your coach threw you under the bus and said you don't work hard or anything. That's not the number 1 red flag. The number 1 red flag for getting drafted or not getting drafted, number 1 red flag is character concerns, okay? Character concerns. If they think you're a criminal, if you're currently facing charges, and we've seen this in the NFL draft, guys don't even get drafted, right? They'll go the whole draft not even getting drafted because some accusations still open. They got an open case, things like that. And then he said the second one is injuries, medical. You will drop in the draft so far due to medical. And I bring all that up because Thomas Fidone, while he had a good year this year, he has 2 torn ACLs that he's recovering from. And medically, those teams are going to look deep in those ACLs. I'd imagine they're going to want to see MRIs or do their own MRIs. There's going to be a number of teams looking into his medical, or they might not even have him on their board because of the medical concerns. And if that's a fact, if that happens, then it's really good news for whoever does pick him. Because by the time they do get him, they're going to get a lot of value. There's going to be a lot of teams that pass on him. Now, in this particular draft, it's going to be like one of your home drafts for fantasy football. There's going to be a run on tight ends, and then everybody will start drafting all the tight ends. Nobody wants to be the first one to take a tight end, though. right? You don't want to go out there and take them when you can get a quality tight end later. And they're probably – the boards are deep. If I'm being honest with you, these guys – if you need a tight end, you're an NFL team that needs a tight end, how deep is your draft board going to be? I mean, it's going to be 20 deep. You can probably wait till the 5th or 6th round. That's not indicative of the talent these players have. Some of these players are going to drop, and they have an immense amount of talent. They just don't need them. There's just so many of them. There's no fear in missing. You know, it's one thing if there was only 7 good ones, then you got to take them early. Shout out to the quarterbacks, right? Quarterbacks, they're like, oh my God, we got to take them all now. But tight ends, there's really no rush. Yes, some of the elite ones will go early, obviously. There'll be a first rounder. There'll be 2 first rounders. There'll be elite tight ends taken. But there's going to be a whole group of these dudes chilling, waiting to hear their name, and it's just going to be pick your poison, and you pick whatever one you want. So Thomas Fidone, concerns are injury. Not a super athletic guy, but mean as nails, tough as nails, and shout out to him for getting back off of his injuries. Oronde Gadsden, nowhere on my chart. Converted wide receiver, had a really good season in Syracuse, been utilized as a weapon. I think he's good because he's a former wide receiver. So he's very athletic and very fast. Can't block to save his life. So very one-dimensional. There's a purpose behind it. If you want to get a receiving weapon, go get him. But I just think he's a fat wide receiver, okay? That's all I think. He's Kelvin Benjamin 2.0 to me. Shout out to Oronde Gadsden. Not a bad player at all. Jackson Hawes shouldn't get drafted. He's an enormous blocker. Can't run. Can't get routes. Shout out to him. Hey, man, if you're watching the show, no shade, bro. You're just not you're not real. Okay. Gunnar Helm. Love him. Love him, love him, love him. He's on my list. Just a beast. And he's one of these guys that broke out this year, but when you watch the tape of Texas, you just went, yeah, that guy's awesome. A lot like Westover last year for Washington, only this time this guy's going to get drafted. So I'm really excited for Gunnar Helm. He did his part, and he looked great this year, and he shot up the boards. Shout out to him. Maybe he was on people's boards before this year, but not that I can vividly remember. That's why I'm mentioning it, okay? Brant Kuithe, yeah, Brant Kuithe, the Utah guy. So there are another injury concerns guy. He's been injured, missed multiple seasons, but he's so good when he's healthy. This is Cam Rising's number 1 receiver, leading Utah in receiving when they were winning the Pac-12 titles. You know, Utah won Pac-12. It was this guy right here. Led the whole team in receiving. He's great when he's healthy. He's going to drop in the draft because of injury concerns and the fact that it's such a deep class, but it's just one of those things. Okay, so he is my deep hitting gem, one of my deep hitting gems. I think he's a good player. Luke Lachey, another injury guy, missed all last year due to injury, came back this year. I think he can have way more production if he was in an offense that had a good quarterback or a good offensive coordinator. So he's at the mercy of his scheme, his quarterback, and yes, there's injury concerns there. Now, when I watch the tape, it's another one of those things like Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame. He just struggles to get off the line and be open. He struggles to just win. And I hate that because you're fighting too hard to get open. You're fighting too hard on your routes to get open. You have to get off jams better, just be more explosive. His first 10 yards is not it. And if your first 10 yards aren't good, I don't know how to feel about it. So he's on my favorites list because I think the kid's a good player. It's just the tape is a hard watch. I don't know how to describe it. It's like running in sand or something. Have you ever done, I don't know. You're moving, but I wish you were better. Colston Loveland, my number 2 tight end on the list. What an absolute beast Colston Loveland is. Another example of a player that would be far more productive if he was on an offensive scheme that utilized tight ends better. They're a run-oriented team. You got an offensive line coach as your head coach. They didn't have a scheme that really highlighted Colston Loveland, but he was still their only semblance of offense some weeks. So he's an awesome tight end. I think he's great all the way around. I think he can develop into an everyday starter. Dude's a beast. Love him. Moliki, Matavao. Dude, I don't say these names right. Don't get mad at me. It's okay. It's a cultural difference we have. I'm going to tell you right now, though, I call him Eminem. Eminem. He's actually the biggest tight end in this draft. He is an enormous dude. He's like 6'6", 260, 270. He's an extra offensive lineman. Him and Jackson Hawes are pretty big. So, like, when he ran a slow 40, everybody's talking shit about his combine results. Ran a slow 40, but, man, he's huge. He can block in line. He's not very athletic to the point where you want to throw him the ball. But he's a weapon, man. You're getting a massive dude. Bryson Nesbit, he's my favorite guy. He's one of my favorites. He's into my top 10 when nobody else has him in their top 10. I just know what I've seen on tape. This kid is about 6'3", 240. He didn't finish the season this year. He had like a broken wrist or he had a hand injury, and he was no longer playing for the rest of the year. So there's going to be injury concerns. He didn't finish the season. I don't care. That guy is solid. Like, that guy's explosive. So he's one of the best athletes at tight end around. Okay? It really is. Robbie Outs is a fullback. He's a fullback. Oots, whatever his name is. Robbie's a fullback, and that's it, bro. He's out here to block people. Not draftable. No. Joshua Simon. You know, when Joshua Simon started his career, he was at Western Kentucky. I want to say he had 7 receiving touchdowns. That's when he got on my radar. Then he hits the transfer portal, goes to South Carolina, not in the starting lineup the whole damn year. That was 2023. Then last year, he gets back to doing what he does. I think he's a red zone weapon. I think he's sneaky good. He's on my list, and he's one of these guys I believe in. So shout out to Joshua Simon. Did he test well enough to wake people up? I don't know. He's in a deep class, and it's tough. I hope somebody believes him because it's not a sexy pick, but he's an effective tight end in the red zone. Mason Taylor, I think he has all the potential in the world. He just needs to lift more. He needs to be stronger. He's about 240. Needs to be at least 260. And I think he does everything else really well. I like Mason Taylor a lot. They didn't talk about him for 2 years now. They just been like letting him go. Nobody really talks about him. Top tight ends. I like him. And now that the draft's coming around, people are starting to look around and go, you know what? I think this guy is in the top 10. I think he is in the top 5. So it's one of those things. I really like Mason Taylor. Tyler Warren, best tight end in the draft. Don't overthink it. Had an amazing year. And when you watch him on tape, he's not a fast twitch athlete. So he's not like, let me explain. He's not Gunnar Helm. He's not Oronde Gadsden, Terrance Ferguson. He's kind of like Harold Fannin. So there's 4 Elijah Arroyo. There's about 4 fast stretch the field tight ends. Then there's Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Harold Fannin, and Gavin Bartholomew. Those are my 4. Those 4 guys are just great all-around players. They're 3-down tight ends, meaning they don't need to leave the field. They can be on the field for all 3 downs, whether they need a block on a run play or go out for a pass. So, Jake Briningstool's in that conversation as well. So there's 5. So that's how I feel about it. I think Tyler Warren's special, man. I think he's a good player. He's going to get drafted in the first round. I hope it's a team that utilizes him. See, like, everybody always goes, Rico, do you think so-and-so's going to be good? I have no fucking clue, bro. I have no control over who is drafting these players. I don't know how they're going to be utilized. That's why I don't make that. I do assessments after the draft, but I don't sit here and start making all these proclamations until we know where they're going, okay? All right, I'm going to jump to the chat, and then we're going to talk about the results. So if you're in the chat right now, you want to drop a comment, please drop it. I will always get to it. I'm not here to argue with you. We don't debate. We're here to educate, but thank you guys for being here tonight, and we'll talk about the tight ends. Let's move over to the chat. I got to hit interact. What's up, y'all? I can tell you right now, I already know who's here. I didn't even look. I already know who's here because we got the usual suspects here every night. Daniel Lee says, pause. I must have said something inappropriate, bro. Oh, they're going deep. That's probably what I said, right? He was going deep? I don't know, dude. I'm secure. I don't need a pause for shit, bro. I don't need to pause. I'm secure. I accidentally been with more women than you dudes have ever been with. I promise you, dude. Join the military. Get in a uniform. Work out every day. Get paid to work out. Become a professional athlete. You guys don't believe me, dude. Somebody sent me a video of some Marines beating the San Diego State players in a relay race. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, those college kids, they've been working out for 3-4 years. We've been working out for 20 years, bro. We just laugh at you. I'm telling you, I was at the gym this morning just crushing people. I don't need to say pause, bro. I don't need to say pause. I've been in nightclubs for the last 20 years, cutting up a rug, meeting every woman there ever was. I don't need to say pause. I'm good. What's up? Man, they're coming from behind. Pause. Nebraska has a good tight end. His name escapes me. Already talked about him. Rewind the show. Shout out to Fidone. Fiji says, this is why I don't get why the Niners signed Luke Farrell to a $20 million contract. This tight end class is nice. Yeah, I don't know how many draft picks the Niners have in this draft. I don't know if they wanted to address it. But yes, any team falling in love with the tight ends. Now, let me say this. In this particular draft, I think there are only about 6, and I shouldn't say only because that's a significant number, but there are 6 NFL starters. And then there are another 4 that are going to be contributors and pass-catching type tight ends. Outside of that, there's going to be a lot of them drafted, but I don't think they're going to be much better than what you have on rosters. You guys got to remember that, okay? It is a deep class, but it all depends on where they get drafted, whether or not they're going to be starters, contributors, backups. We don't know. We don't know. You could think you're going to be the starter and all this stuff, and then you go and Travis Kelce's you're the starter, right? He should retire. But you guys get what I'm saying. Another thing I'm going to tell you is some tight ends get drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and they become elite tight ends. All the time. It happens all the time. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, elite tight ends late in the draft. It's very normal. So it doesn't always have to be a 1st or 2nd rounder. It can be much later. Promise. Arroyo's a beast. Yeah, he's a beast for what he does, right? He's one of the best receiving tight ends out there. I like him. Mason Taylor is the real deal. Shout out to you, the real deal Holyfield for sure. James Conner. Am I missing something? Did we do the wrong name? Is it Jalin Conyers or James Conner? Am I missing one? Who's James Conner? I'm missing a name. I'm sorry. Am I drawing a blank right now? I have a lot going on up here, guys. Hey, people always accuse me of being a Google guy. They say, oh, Rico just Googles everything. They don't ever come to these live streams where I'm talking for hours on end about every single player, giving you the history on them and everything. They think it's in front of me. They think I'm reading it somewhere. It's fucking bananas. It's bananas, bro. I could turn the camera around right now. All you're going to see is just abyss and blankness. Anyways. Hi, Rico. Is Brock Bowers one of the best tight end prospects you have reviewed? Thank you. Sammy, yeah, he's the best tight end prospect I've ever reviewed. Not one of the best. He's the best I've ever reviewed. He's a unicorn. Now, how he's going to do in the NFL, how he's going to be utilized, is he going to stay injury-free? I have no fucking clue. But I can just tell you that when I analyzed him, he's the greatest college tight end I've ever seen. Is that out of line? I don't think that's out of line. I think he's the greatest college tight end I've ever seen. Him and Dennis Pitta are probably the 2 best tight ends I've ever seen. Shout out to BYU. Dennis Pitta and Brock Bowers. Those 2 really stick out to in my memory of tight ends that I've reviewed over the last 25 years. I've been doing this for a long time, and I might name tight ends that you don't remember or know, or you might be like, oh, he was a scrub. Nah, not coming out of college. It's different, right? Sometimes they're not all that great in the pros, but coming out, you're like, oh, that's Marcus Mariota. You get what I'm saying? Let's not pretend like Nickelback wasn't one of the best bands. Willie Crawford, complete nonsense, bro. Complete nonsense. There was Third Eye Blind. Nickelback was never one of the best bands. Nickelback had 2 songs, might have been cool. And shout out to my son. He texted me this morning, and he said, Dad, what was your graduation song when you graduated high school? What did they play at your graduation? And I was like, oh, what song did they play at my graduation? And I remember what it was, and I sent it to him, and I said, read the comments. And it was Eve 6, Here's to the Night. You guys know the song. I'm not going to sing it to you. But I can tell you right now, there's not a fucking song back in the day from Nickelback that's really got me moving like that. Not happening, bro. Not happening. I've seen a lot of Nickelback CDs in the used section or on clearance. Saying Brock Bowers is one of the best football players ever. There you go, Darvis Harvey. There you go. I didn't know Darvis Harvey said that, but I'm sitting there kind of dumbfounded. That man enabled a team to win 2 national titles. That dude is something else, bro. I don't care what he does in the NFL. That dude is a bona fide college football Hall of Famer. That dude's the truth. Roll Tide, roll. Shout out to you, Lewis Henton. You know, another example of having to understand how good people are in college versus the pros. would be Julio Jones. Julio Jones was not elite in college. He had one good season, decent season. He was a 4 or 5-star kid coming out. Him and Green, they were the two best receivers coming out. And it was just one of those things where you kept watching him and you're like, okay, he's not being utilized properly at Alabama. Then he gets to the NFL and he's great. And now everybody pretends like if they were going to make an all-college team, they put Julio Jones on. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? No. Yeah, you got to just – some of us do this for a living. Our memories are incredible. And then some are victims of, I guess, recency bias. Trust me, I got a buddy, Jaya Full. Shout out to him. He's a content creator on TikTok. Right now, he's telling all of us the greatest running back of all time, attributes-wise, is Saquon Barkley. And I will not have this conversation with him. He said nobody compares to Saquon Barkley. And I can't even have that conversation. Dude, I said, where were you on 9/11, bro? Dude's my age. But where were you on? Mentally, you're childish. You better stop. Anyways, I didn't know that. Just started to see football. Shout out to Sammy. He didn't know. He just started watching football. Hey, congratulations, dude. Welcome to the worst experience of your life, watching football. It's tough. Joking, bro, but he's a bad man. You're not joking, Darvis Harvey. He's one of the best college football players of all time. He's one of them. Randy Moss, that dude, Reggie. Yeah. They're out there. I agree on Gadsden, Oronde Gadsden, being undraftable, but he sure made us MVP some money this year. Hey, shout out to you, Evan Koki. I don't think he's undraftable. Somebody's going to take a chance. It's just I personally wouldn't draft him. I'm looking at NFL rosters, and I don't see too many teams that need a receiving-only tight end in the draft. You can get that in undrafted free agency. You can get one of your wide receivers to start eating more. Like, you do a number of things. You can actually sign wide receivers. And I'm going to get into some of the other tight ends after the break, right after we're done talking here. And I'm going to tell you, like, Holden Willis is available, y'all. You want to talk about making MVP's money? Holden Willis, he's only about 220 pounds, but he's 6'4", 6'5", 220, starting tight end for Middle Tennessee State. You want a weapon downfield? Holden Willis made us so much money. But with how deep the tight end class is this year, you don't even have to draft him. He and Oronde Gadsden are kind of similar to me. Just receiving threats. Holden Willis is the truth. MVP should know this. I'm just letting you know. Just letting you know. Happy spring break. What up, Willie Bobo? It's spring break. Not for me. It's not spring break for me. I think spring break over here is in the first week of April, because that's when we have Masters Week, I believe. I'm outside of Augusta. But I do have my daughter's volleyball tournament coming up. I will say this. If it is spring break, shout out to the beautiful Kim Jones. She's currently with her granddaughter out in Virginia for the week. She's hanging out with her mom. And then she's bringing her mom back over here to come kick it at the house. You know, we've been having our parents come through the house. I bought a brand new home out here in South Carolina. And we've been just sharing it and showing it off to our parents. We're not showing it to friends. We don't throw any parties. We don't do any of that shit. All we do is bring our parents in, bro. Shout out to us. We're lame. No, we just want to show them we're proud. Bring them over and have a good time. Pops already came out for a week. Her mother already came out for a week. We're going to do another week. Then my mom's going to show up for another week. Yeah, we're having a good time. Shout out to us. Doing it big. Nonetheless, let's get back to the show here. What up, Willie? What up, E-Money? Shout out to E-Money and Willie Bobo. Two OGs been around. I've known these guys. Well, I think I've known Willie Bobo my whole life. And then E-Money I've known, oh, man, what is it, 36 years? I think it's 35 years. 35 years. When you rank tight ends, do you value blocking or receiving more? Jalin B, I think it's a lot easier to put value in yards and touchdowns and receptions and first downs, right? But it's one of those things where this isn't wide receivers where we don't even evaluate their ability to run block at all. Like, we don't care. You can talk about it all you want. No one gives a shit. But if you're an inline tight end, if you become a liability because you can't block, you're not as good as the other guy who can, right? So when I look at linebackers, it's the same way. Linebackers who can tackle are great. But if you're a liability athletically and you can't cover, or you have to come off the field on third down because you don't have the ability to do any coverage, right? I'm going to give you an example. I was watching these tight ends on film for the last 3 days. I'm watching these tight ends, and I'm watching the explosion off the line of scrimmage. And I'm watching these tight ends beat linebackers. And I'm annotating it because I got linebackers to review here in a few, right? And you can go look at the nation's leading tacklers. You can go look at their 40 times and all this. But I'm annotating little notes. And I'm saying, ooh, could not help in hook to curl. And if you don't know what that means, sometimes your linebackers, their responsibility in zone coverage is hook to curl, meaning about 10 or 12 yards off the line of scrimmage in a position where the slot receiver would either run a hook or a curl. So a hitch, you do a quick hitch at either on the line of scrimmage or at 5 yards. Then you do one at 10 or 12. That's a curl. At some point, it changes its terminology and name. So you got a curl or a hook to the outside. Deeper towards the sideline, we call them comebacks. But on the inside, you call it a hook to a curl. So if you say this linebacker's responsibility is hook to curl, that means he's got a zone and he should be stopping that slot receiver, that tight end, from running that route there. And sometimes these jokers will be in the zone, standing there and covering no one. And they're a liability. They don't know how to turn their hips and run. They don't know how to find the ball. They don't know how to really, anybody passes my zone, they're getting beat up like a bouncer, right? And they don't have that edge to them. So liabilities come off the field. Another thing is when defenses go from a 4-3 defense or a 3-4 defense, which is their base defense sometimes, you'll see them go to a nickel coverage or a dime coverage. And I will check to see which linebacker stays on the field. Which linebackers are you using in your 4-2-5 defense or your 3-3-5 defense? I need to know which linebackers you believe in and trust on 3rd and long or 2nd and 10 or 1st and 10, whatever. So it's a lot about studying down and distance, utilization, and then on the tight end side, there's something called position utilization. Right? Are you the tight end that goes in motion? Are you the H-back? Are you in a 3-point stance or a 2-point stance? I value all of this. So blocking does come into it, but it's not sexy. It's not something you want to look at, and it's not something that other teams are going to draft a tight end for over a skilled athlete. You're just not. And the reason for that is the skilled athlete can actually double down and play special teams. That's a fact. The skilled athlete can actually play, scout defense on your practice squad and emulate another athletic tight end that they're trying to cover. That's another thing that can really happen, right? So let's say this week you're playing against Kansas City coming up. Well, now we need a guy at practice to pretend like he's Travis Kelce. Well, wouldn't it help if you had a very athletic tight end on the practice squad that can do that and mimic that? That's where the value comes in. You guys got to understand, making it in the NFL is about finding how you contribute to the team's success. Even if you're not on the field, maybe you can emulate something and do something different. This is why some teams just have dual threat quarterbacks, 3rd string, or on the practice squad, just so they can go and emulate a dual threat quarterback on the scout team during practice. We just need to chase a dual threat quarterback. And we can't do that if they're all as fast as Tom Brady. So when you look at a team, they'll be like, yo, we'll just take that dual threat guy. It also helps that if our starting quarterback goes down, well, we want some guy back there who can scramble and get a first down and not be a damn, a hitting dummy or whatever. So a lot of nuances to it. Yes, I value blocking, just not as much as others. And remember, I am comparing these players to NFL players, not just to each other. Because when I have to make assessments on if they're going to make it in the NFL or not, remember, I do another episode where I talk about undrafted free agents and who's going to make it in the NFL and who's not. And when I'm giving you guys those predictions, and I'm like, this guy's going to make a final 53, that means I've already assessed that player, and I think he's better than somebody in the NFL. So I look at all the players who didn't get drafted. I wait about a day, make sure I see where they sign, and then I'll let you know if they're going to make that team's roster because I know if they're better than the players on that roster. That's why my undrafted free agent picks are so accurate compared to anybody else on the internet. I just get it right all the time. They'll be like, oh, Rico, how'd you know that guy's a starter? How'd you know that guy was going to make it, Rico? Oh, my God, he made the final 53. I did a Division III guy. Was it last year or 2 years ago? I had a Division III player make it on a final 53. I got it right. Only guy I talked about in Division III. I talked about one Division III football player, and he made it on a team. The video's out there. It's on TikTok. It's got like 200,000 views. One of my greatest calls ever. I think mathematically almost impossible to make that call. There's only 4 Division III players in the whole fucking NFL. And I said, yeah, that guy's going to make it. Shout out to Baldwin University. That's where he played at. Anyways, back to what we were saying. Yo, Reek, pause. Here we go again. E-Money telling me to pause. Oh, my God. They're coming all over my back. What's going on? Would you take Tyler Warren top 10? There you go, Ryan Corrigan. Would I take Tyler Warren top 10? What team am I? What are you talking about? Like, I don't live in that world. I don't do mock drafts. I don't tell teams where they need to draft players. I assess talent. That's what I do. I assess talent. I assess fighters. I don't tell you where to bet or how to bet. I assess football teams. I don't tell you how to bet or what's going on. I just assess talent between players. That's my skill, right? My skill is not predicting where teams are going to draft players. So would I draft Tyler Warren top 10? If I had a team in the top 10, I'd probably trade out. I would trade my draft pick for more draft currency and get a tight end in the 10th in the 6th round. Like, what are we doing? I just told you it's deep as hell. I'll get the hell out of there and get a bunch of draft currency. I'm different, bro. It's draft day over here. I'm doing some other shit nobody wants to believe in. I'm Kevin Costner. I'm stacking it, man. I'd be out of the first round every year. I will frustrate my whole fan base. I refuse to draft a player. I'm out of here. I'm going to get a bunch of hidden gems. I'll probably get fired. Don't care. These other guys are drafting dudes in the first round, still getting fired. So who gives a shit? I said James Conner because you were naming Pittsburgh tough players. Pitt tough. Yeah, James Conner, the running back who got cancer. Dude, now we're talking. Now we're here, bro. That's what I'm saying. I have 15,000 names in my head at all times, right? I got to know all the college football players. And now I got all these high school kids I'm talking to every day trying to get them. And it's just a lot of names up here. Now you want me to start naming dudes who played at Pitt back in 2018 or something. And, yeah, James Conner was a hell of a running back before the cancer. He's still tough enough to make it in the NFL. That was good. This is how we do it. What up, Montel Jordan? Very tall, Montel Jordan. Like 6'7"? 6'8", he stood, and people thought the music that he made was good. Yeah, 6'8". Anyways, went back and watched some of your 2024 draft evaluations. Really good stuff. Thank you, Omaha. Thank you so much. You know, people always point out the misses. I had a guy write to me earlier today. He went to the Eagles draft analysis from last year, and he says, man, this aged like milk. And I wrote back to him, and I said, yeah, some do, bro. I've done over 500 post-draft reviews. I do analysis on drafts, on draft picks after the draft. I never wait to see how they perform in preseason. I don't care about injuries or what have you. I just do my analysis right after the draft. And I live with the results. And if you do that, you got this guy wrong, Rico, you got this guy wrong. Bro, I've done it 514-something players. I know one year it was 259, the next year it was 251, something like that. Who are you talking to? So let's say I miss on 50 of them. Let's say I miss on 50 players in the last 2 years. I've been dead wrong about 50 players, which I don't even know if that's true. But let's just say I got it wrong on 50 guys. That would mean I'm hitting at a 90% accuracy rate. 90% accuracy rate, even if I missed on 50. And all they ever do is point out the same 5-6 guys that I miss out on. That's it. That's all. And they consider misses like the craziest shit. C.J. Stroud, I put him at number 3. The world had him at number 2. And they're like, Rico, you missed. You don't know. I had him at 3, bro. I like him just as much as you do. What's wrong with you? It's one spot difference. That's fucking crazy, dude. That's nuts. Oh, you don't know. Ugh, gross. Thank you for watching my old videos, Omaha. Thanks, bro. I'm going to go get a steak on you. Remember Mercedes Lewis at UCLA, Sensei Rico? He was a top tight end. Uno mas. Yeah, shout out to Mercedes Lewis. So, when I was a young man, I grew up in Southern California. I played football in the Southern section. Shout out to me. We were CIF Southern section semifinalists back-to-back years. I used to play my high school football in the Southern section, and the number one team back then was Long Beach Poly. And in that time frame, Long Beach Poly, they were playing against De La Salle in the game of the century. De La Salle was undefeated. Long Beach Poly had everybody. Manny Wright. They had Larry Kroom at running back. They had Herman Ho Chang, rest in peace, Herman Ho Chang. They had Chris Lewis at quarterback, Kareem Kelly at wide receiver, Darryl Rideau, Dennis Link at linebacker, Darryl Rideau at corner. I can name the whole fucking team, bro. Winston Justice at tight end. All right, I'm sorry, at left tackle. Like, I can name the whole team. Mercedes Lewis was the tight end. And so the first time I ever saw him was in high school. And just knew he was amazing. So, yeah, shout out to him. Don't ever name an old player. I can go for days. By the way, Long Beach Poly ended up losing that game to Maurice Jones-Drew. He was only a sophomore. His name was Maurice Drew at the time. He wasn't hyphenated. Maurice Drew, a sophomore. They hid him on the tape. They didn't even let him play week 1 so that Long Beach Poly didn't know who they had. They knew what they had. Matt Gutierrez was the quarterback for that team. He ended up committing to Michigan and never playing for them. Derek Landry was a starting center and defensive tackle for De La Salle that year. And I believe Kevin Simon was on the team at the time, and he ended up playing linebacker at Tennessee. So, yeah, do I remember these guys. I'm a walking almanac, bro. I'm living here. I didn't know you were going to write that. Rico Googled it. I know this guy Googled it. There's no way he knows this stuff. He's Googling it. Get your life together, bro. I'm amazing. What up, Top? What up, Hunter, darling? And if you guys ever wonder why people come in here and call me Top, it's not a gay joke. No. Don't have to say pause. Top is the top of the food chain. Top is short, or the nickname that they call first sergeants in the Army, and I'm a retired first sergeant. Top, actually, it could be an acronym for trainer of personnel, but we just call it top of the food chain. Top, what up, Top? And I respond to it all the time, so shout out to Hunter, darling. Jalin B says, do you think any of the quarterbacks in this draft need to switch to tight end? Oh, my goodness. I don't have the list of quarterbacks in front of me. I would imagine Jalen Milroe is number 1 for me. Needs to switch positions for sure. There's going to be tight ends, not these tight ends that are supposed to get drafted. Will Howard should be a tight end. And there's probably other tight ends. I can't think of any guys that are eligible, draft eligible right now that should be tight ends. I can't. Great question. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any right now. I apologize. I would love to do that one. I would love to do a video on it and just talk about it. Tight end, quarterbacks that should be converted to tight end. There's probably many. There really is if you think about it, but I just can't think of them right now. And I don't want to waste too much time just sitting here thumbing through the names. There's Tommy Millott from Montana State. He's pretty good. Cam Miller, North Dakota State. Both those guys are very athletic, kind of taller guys. Oh, man, there's some good guys. At the FBS level, there's some guys that are kind of mobile, bigger. Yeah, there's probably a ton of them. Great question. Oh, what about what's the kid, Tyler Purdy? The quarterback at Jacksonville State? We got to do something with that kid, too. He's amazing. Big kid. Who's the Army kid? The Army quarterback who ran over everybody. That's another tight end. Yeah, there's some guys out there, but I think he's got to go to war or something. Great question, Jalen B. I owe you an answer, man. Rocco Glaze, what up, MVP? You see that name is green, bro? He says, yo, what up, Rico? You know I had to tune in. Just don't have many questions lately. I just listen. Hope you've been well. I've been well. I've been over, I think I had an allergic reaction, and I don't want to throw no shade at any companies out there, but I had an ear infection. I still can't hear out of my left ear. It's completely blocked. It's just shot. They told me it'll come back in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It feels like there's water in my ear. The infection's gone, I'm assuming, because I'm not in pain anymore. I go back for a follow-up at the end of the month. But my throat hurts from time to time. And it goes really bad when I start drinking this ice water. It's called ice? Is it called ice? Is that what it's called? It's this flavored water. Fizz water, if you will. If fizz is carbonated water, I think it's called ice. But we got flavors, and the flavors we bought in bulk were Starburst flavored ice water. It's amazing. Tastes great. Tastes like fucking Starburst. Shout out to Kim. She bought it in bulk. I started drinking it, and I think that's what I'm getting an allergic reaction from. And it's kicking my ass. And I was sipping it. I felt better and went back to sipping it, and I was like, whoa, this is the common denominator. This is a problem. So thanks for asking, man. Thanks for bringing it up. But, yeah, I stomached through it, but my throat really hurts. I just can't get over it. What do you think of Wyoming tight end John Michael Weilenborg? I'm in love with this dude's tape. Haven't watched the tape. Obviously, I've watched every Wyoming game. Not on my list. Not on my list. What do I think? I would say he never really stuck out to me. I would say I'd be impressed. Hunter Darling, if he makes it on an NFL team, I'm gonna give you a big dap, bro. I'm gonna give you a dap. I'm gonna give you a pause. I'm gonna give you a digital dap. A DD, bro. Facts, he nailed it. I remember that TikTok. What did I nail? Oh, some predictions or something? Appreciate you. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. What up, Willie Bo? You trying to rhyme? It's a bad time. I'm sitting here with my hand on my 9. Okay, let's go. By the way, this one's iridescent because Kim likes fancy ones, and the one by my bed is all black, but that's downstairs. Is Tyler Warren comparable to Brock Bowers out of college last year? No. No one is. Brock Bowers is the greatest tight end of all time. What are you doing? Tyler Warren's the best tight end this year. Every year there's a best tight end in every single draft class. They're not comparable. One guy's generationally the greatest I've ever seen. Another guy's a good tight end. Now, how are they going to do in the NFL? How are they going to succeed? That's their business. I don't know. But I can just tell you that, no, they're not comparable. Shout out to Tyler Warren. A lot of Tyler Warren's production comes from linebackers in the box trying to stop the run, a quarterback who can't throw to wide receivers, didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver in the playoffs, right? Didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver on the roster. So you got a quarterback in Drew Allard that can only throw to certain people, certain levels of the defense. And Tyler Warren's highly beneficial to that. So let's just say he's a very productive tight end. All right, we got that out of the way. But if he was at Georgia, when Brock Bowers was at Georgia, Tyler Warren would be a backup with Oscar Delp. Like, they would just be backups. They would be looking at that guy like, oh, that's the starter. That's not comparable. You feel me? Now, you're the best tight end this year. It's cool. Who's the best running back this year? Is he comparable to last year's best tight end? Best running back? Like, let's have this real conversation. Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson, maybe Ashton Genty. The way people feel about it, right? Are they comparable to last year's? Yep. Right? So, last year, my favorite running back was Jalin Wright. Not a very good running back class. So, is Jalin Wright an all-time great? No. But if you go before that, there's Bijan Robinson. Not every year you're going to get equivalent players. Tyler Warren is a great tight end. He played well. I think he's a stud. I don't put him in the class of Brock Bowers. I don't put anyone in the class of Brock Bowers. You won't see another tight end in Brock Bowers' class and I was clicking on a whole chart. You guys couldn't see anything. I apologize. I won't put another tight end in Brock Bowers' class. Not in your lifetime, bro. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. They might be better. They might be good. I don't care. I don't do that kind of stuff. Off topic, Rico, but I'd love for you to do some high school film reviews on them cats in Pittsburgh, California. You'd be surprised they can ball. What happened to it? Why did the chat go away? I was just reading it. It just went away. You deleted it? You retracted it? One of my admins deleted it? Oh, come on, man. Pittsburgh players. I know that they can ball. I don't care. I don't look for football players that can ball. I do high school film reviews based on donations. Whoever pays me gets a review. That's it. I'm honest with whoever pays me. I don't give them favorable evaluations, but it's a service. I will pay. You pay me, I will do a review on you. So tell those Pittsburgh kids to pay me, and they'll get a review. I'm not going to go randomly looking for them. I don't have time for that. No. I'm busy, bro. I'm busy every day on Twitter advocating for the players that pay me. It's a paid service. It's no different. I'm hooking people up. I'm helping people get offers, helping them get to the next level. We had a kid get an offer yesterday, committed to a Division III school. Pretty awesome. Shout out to Hunter Herring, the quarterback out of Oklahoma, little guy. Let me double check. So we fought. Oh, I don't even have it up. That's my bad, bro. Where would it be? Oh, it's under revenue. Give me a second here. I don't want that to pop up on the screen. Yeah, well, that's fine. That's not bad. But let me see something real quick. So this ain't the end of the world, but let's go here. Hunter was the month before. Houston Heron just got an offer. Shout out to him. He's committed to a school now. He was at Oklahoma. He did pay a healthy amount to get help, but it is what it is. Another young man just got an FCS offer today. It was one of my JUCO players. Wasn't Hunter. It was also in January. Ernest Blackshire Jr., so another corner. So, yeah, I'm busy helping those guys, man. I'm focused on high school film reviews for most of my day. I don't have time to go look for guys who aren't paying me, to be honest. I'm just always keeping it real. I ain't got to lie to kick it. Anyways, yeah, got to do it. Yeah, that was the last part. I know they have to pay. Then, man, why are you bringing it up if you know, bro? Why are you wasting my damn time? All right, let's go back to the chart one last time, and then we'll come back to the chat and we'll end the show. Thanks for being here tonight, guys. I don't care how many numbers are here. We're just here to get the information out so we can get the predictions right, and then we can just tell people, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. All right, let's go back to the chart real quick. So I already gave a rundown on these players, and my top 10 is down here. Tyler Warren, Loveland, Ferguson, Gunnar Helm, Jake Briningstool, Harold Fannin Jr., Mason Taylor, Elijah Arroyo, Benjamin Urasek did not get invited to the combine. Benjamin Urasek, my number 9 tight end, did not get invited to the combine. Like I said, he's a Stanford man, played at Stanford, and I just believe in him. Great receiver. Believe in that young man. There's Bryson. Now, my favorite players. Gavin Bartholomew out of Pitt. Just think he's a great all-around guy, good locker room guy. You want him on your team. Now, next dude, Caden. Caden pre-scoring. I call him prior scoring. Pre-scoring. Transfer from Memphis. He transferred into Ole Miss 2 years ago. Been Ole Miss's leading tight end and a complete stud. Love everything about him. Didn't get an invite to the combine. I don't know what that's about, but he's a stud. So shout out to him. Rivaldo Fairweather. Transfer from FIU. So played in Conference USA at the time. FIU, then went to Auburn. Was able to play in the SEC. He's a good player. Think he might be undersized. But that's another player I like. Chances are he doesn't get drafted. He will try to make it on a team, and I think he's got a good shot to make it in the NFL on a team. Okay. Then we go down here to the deep hitting gems. I already talked about all these guys. I told you Holden Willis, just love him to death, but he's probably not going to make it. He's so undersized. But, man, go to the UFL and dominate. I don't want to hear that shit. I hope he makes it in the NFL. I like the kid. He's really good. He's got hands for days. And then Carter Runyon. I want to talk about Carter Runyon for a second. This year, when I went to go evaluate FCS tight ends, remember like I had Tucker Kraft, my number 1 tight end in the draft. It's because when I looked at all the tight ends, I was doing all the FBS tight ends, and then I go to the FCS, and I'm like, who's the best tight ends around? And I go to South Dakota State. They had just won a national title, the Jackrabbits, and they have this tight end that I'm just like, just came back from an injury, missed the whole year, but played in the playoffs. I was like, yo, this Tucker Kraft dude is fucking the bee's knees. So I put him number 1. I was thoroughly impressed with him, put him number 1. So I like to go look at the FCS guys and give them some shine. If you don't notice on the chart, FCS, Tommy Malott. Haj Malik Williams, former FCS, transferred to UNLV. FCS, Max Brosmer. FCS, Cam Miller. Now, Max Brosmer transferred to Minnesota this year, but another FCS guy. So 1AA guys, FCS guys, Lan Larison, leaving UC Davis, right? Mauro Anderson, former Newberry Division II running back. Trey Stewart, former FCS running back. Kylan James, former FCS running back at Central Arkansas. Trey Stewart used to be at Limestone Division II school. So former FCS guys, and then Marquez Cooper, former MAC. Kind of like an FCS guy. No, I'm joking. And then you have Darius Cooper, the leading receiver in the FCS, out of Tarleton State. You have Efton Chisholm, Eastern Washington, FCS, once again. So Roy Alexander, UIW, Incarnate Word, FCS. So I'm always looking for FCS gems to put in my deep hitting gems. Always. That's what I'm going to do. And this year, when I went to go look at tight ends, boo-boo the fool, bro. These dudes were terrible. None of the tight ends really stuck out to me. So I don't think any of them are going to make it in the NFL from the FCS level. There's not a tight end out there. Most of them transferred. You see them. Most of them are on the list. There's so many good FBS tight ends. There's no room for these FCS guys at all. So I picked the best one. I picked the guy I thought was the best. He played at Towson, and he just transferred to Towson, by the way. I think he transferred there in the last 2 years. So he did his last 2 years at Towson. And maybe I'm biased because I did live in the DMV for a while. So I have a thing for, like, players from that area. Like Marquez Cooper comes from there. Carter Runyon comes from that area as well. And it's just one of these things where it's like, I'm watching Towson. They got a tight end. They're using him. It's not the greatest, but good enough. It looks like he's lumbering when he's running, but good enough, so I'm giving him some shine. I put him on the list, put him in the show, but I fully expect him not to get drafted. Fully expect Holden Willis not to get drafted. Everybody else got a shot, man. Everybody else got a shot. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, that's the show. That's all I wanted to talk about as far as tight ends go. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, combine. Terrance Ferguson ran in the fastest 40. It was 4.63. It's not the greatest. You want some tight ends. If you're going to be a receiving tight end, we want you 4.4, 4.5. I'm not even joking. You're lumbering, you're big, but we want some speed demons. Love that Joshua Simon ran a 4.65. I really do, because, like I told you, it's not a sexy pick, but that guy's productive in the red zone, and for him to be that fast, awesome. Dippre tests well. There's my boy Gavin. Like him a lot. A lot. Fidone, huge guy, running 4.7 flat, not bad. Harold Fannin, disappointed in his 40. I thought he's faster, but 4.71 is there. This is why all those high school kids claiming they run a 4.6 or a 4.5 or a 4.4. No, you don't, bro. You're hand-timed. You really run a 4.8, and you're lying to yourself. Promise you. Conyers, like I said, a great catcher. Mitchell Evans looks like he struggles to get off the line. And then you have Briningstool, who doesn't look like he struggles. So maybe it's their first 10 meters. This is the biggest tight end in the draft, and he ran a 4.81. These are all blockers down here, and this concerns me, right? A receiving tight end that I really like in Bryson Nesbit runs a 4.88. I would say it's because he didn't work out for the last couple months. He's been injured. But you got to be able to run. You got to show up in shape, in the best shape of your life, and you can't run a 4.88. These are blockers. These are monsters. Robbie Outs down here, 4.91. Hawes, and these are all the blockers. So 2 tight ends down here that I still have to have faith in. But they ran so slow that no one's gonna be trying to get them. I still have faith in them. It's just like last year with the safeties. You guys remember with the safeties last year? The 2 Miami kids show up and they ran incredibly slow, and everybody started trying to get me off them. Cam Kitchens and James Williams showed up to the draft or the combine and ran insanely slow. Like 4.7 slow, 4.69 slow, something really slow. And I said, I don't give a shit. I got 2 years of tape. I'm going to stick with Cam Kitchen. I don't care. I'm doing it, and I'll be wrong, but that's how I get down. So when it comes to these tight ends, I don't care that Gunnar Helm ran slow as molasses or Nesbit ran slow as molasses. They didn't pull a Travis Hunter. They didn't go ghost when it was time to run a 40. I'm down with you, man. You're here to compete. You're trying. Besides, most tight ends aren't running a full flat 40. It's that 10-yard split that we're looking for. And when I look at a 10-yard split, some of these guys more athletic than others. Some of them take a while to get going. But Nesbit, he's fine. He's fine. That 1.61's fine. But, yeah, 1.55, Mitchell Evans. I'm telling you, I don't see that on tape, bro. He ran hard, but I don't see that on tape. Vertical. Here's your athletes up top. 39 and 38-inch verts. Dude, Joshua Simon's looking spectacular. I already believe in Terrance Ferguson. Simon's looking spectacular. Gunnar Helm did not test well. 30 inches. Did not test well. He showed up like he had bubble guts, bro. You can't be doing that. Look at the explosion of the athletes up front. Same dudes up top every single time. Same dudes towards the bottom every single time. Broad jump's got to be over 10 feet. Got to be. 3-cone drill, I don't put a lot of value into this. It's whoever practiced the drill or not. It's not natural. Bench matters for these dudes that are in line blocking. CJ Dippre out here testing better than the whole wide world. Whole wide world. And only, 5 guys went and did the bench. It is what it is. All right, guys, thanks for being here. I'm going to go to the chat one last time. Appreciate you. Let's go. Mixing some honey in your drinks. Okay, mixing some honey. I don't know how that's going to taste with my... Well, it'll taste all right. I'm drinking iced tea right now. I'm drinking like lemon iced tea flavored water or something like that. It is what it is. Yeah, that was the last part. I know they have to pay. A little late, but we are in here. Start the show over, Evan Kramer. Start the show over. Listen to everything, bro. You'll learn a ton. Kiffin didn't use pre-scoring enough. Dart locked in on Trey Harris a lot. I wouldn't blame him. Trey Harris is very good. They're all very good. I'm not mad at anybody. Ray Chronic, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you, bruh. Appreciate the $1.99. He says, Ty Felton is in your top 5 ball. Let me say something to you right now. I talked about it in the wide receiver video. I want to move Ty Felton to number 2. Number 2. but I won't do it because I already published the chart. I already did it. But I'm publicly telling you guys, I'm putting it in every video, I want to move Ty Felton to number 2. I think he's a slam dunk NFL wide receiver. I think he's got every trait I'm looking for. I went back and watched the tape again. I know Gunnar Helm ran slow, but I don't know if you saw he rolled his ankle. He's much faster than that. He ran at the Combine IMO. Oh, Evan Goki. I definitely did not see him roll his ankle. I watched 0% of the Combine, bro. I watch 0% of the Combine. People write to me all the time, come into the chat, watch me on live stream. I'm doing UFC evaluations. Dude, I'm getting ready for fight cards and making predictions. I ain't got time for that shit. I'm over here predicting Alex Pereira's going to lose. That's what I'm doing. Ask the MVPs. I'm over here predicting Alex Pereira's going to lose. And we need to put all our money on a dude named Ignacio Bahamondes. Get at me, bro. Shout out to all the MVPs who support me. Shout out to you guys for showing up tonight. I know it was a late show. Evan Kramer wrote me a DM, was like, bro, when are you going to do this thing? You're supposed to be on already. I just get busy with other things. But I appreciate all you guys. I couldn't do it without you. Remember, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.